Time to dive straight into what every business talks about: revenue, moolah, right? But we're not just talking about the old school dhanda here. This session is all about digital touchpoint, full stack sale engine, where powerful customer experiences are rewriting revenue rulebooks. And as I call upon the first panel for the day, don't let the clap stop, guys. I'd like to invite Mr. Manish Gupta, Director, Commercial, Hiranandani, Mr. Vimalendra Singh, CBO, Residential, Mahindra Lifespaces, Mr. Piyush Upadhyay, CBO, Digital OfBusiness. Please, guys, give it up for all the panel members. And moderating this power-packed panel is Mr. Govind Rai, co-founder of Insomniacs and Absolute CX. He's the guy who whispers algorithms and convinces the real estate to go digitally willingly. Guys, please, a round of applause, and all the panelists and moderator, please come on stage.
Thanks a lot, RealtyNXT team and Navya for the beautiful introduction. And the timer is already kicking, so let's get going with it. The first talk, I believe, as she mentioned, we are talking about mullahs, revenues, right? So let's get started with that. One of the important part that I have realized into my journey so far, interacting with all the top real estate developers, that somewhere the technologies which you guys are implementing, specifically into the real estate developer fraternity, they're sitting in silos, right? And they're not really interacting with each other. I wanted to first start this session by discussing and understanding that in this whole journey of unifying the source of truth, the unified dashboard, data flowing from one place to the end, where in this journey you guys have reached. Mr. Vimalendra, Mr. Manish, I'll start with you to talk about this, and then we'll probe into the further details.
Thanks, Govind. So as far as this integration is concerned, if you look at the sales side and the customer facing side, which is basically the residential business or the commercial business, all the digital footprints which are required to be done in terms of the front end and the back end, both are there in place, and that is, I feel, across the industry. Everyone has implemented various softwares, whether it is for procurement, ERP, for doing their financial statements. All the back end processes, there's a different set. There is a customer facing set, there's a different set. The CRMs have been implemented, websites are there, so many things are there. So I think it's a very integrated field that we see as of now. And this is driving business, it is driving in efficiency. More and more people are doing more and more experimentation to reach out to the customer in the shortest possible time, work on the leads that you are able to generate as quickly as possible, and convert them as quickly as possible. So I think this is an exciting field, but it keeps evolving by the day. AI has added a new layer, so now you're starting to get chatbots, you're getting avatars, you're getting presentations which can be controlled by the customers and all that. So yeah, it's an evolving field, yeah.
Mr. Vimalendra, how about you? Where in the journey of your company you guys have already reached? And of course, I'm going to talk about the future at the later stage, but if you could just set the context by telling that the unified interface, which is making sure that the efficiencies in terms of wherever the data leakage is, wherever the efficiency can be added based on the construction update and every material that is getting procured. Is there a unified ecosystem that you guys are working towards or have already reached that place?
So, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, rather. I think it's a late start to the day. See, on a digital side, Govind, that you asked, and just picking up from where Manish left, in today's time, frankly, you just can't do without the digital technology. I mean, whether you like it or you don't like it, I've heard a lot of the people say that I'm old school, I'll do it manually. The data, I will use the Excel sheet to do that. I will reach out to the customer through a phone call. But guys, those are changing and very, very rapidly as we see. I want to share one thing with you. We were the first real estate developer to do a project launch in Metaverse. I don't know how many of you have been to Pune. We have got a project in Pimpri Chinchwad, a very large one, where we actually launched the entire project in Metaverse. So we're first to do that in collaboration with Tech Mahindra. Now, also, let me take you 5 years back to the COVID period, not the most pleasant one, right? We all want to forget about it. But again, we were the first developer to launch a completely digital project. at the peak of the COVID, because obviously while we were trying to work on it, COVID itself hastened that particular development. And who would have thought a consumer will buy a home without meeting a salesperson, without going to the sales gallery, without giving that physical check, without negotiation? Everything was digital, the platform, we got it done. And now obviously a lot of the things have evolved. We are talking about AI, we are talking about machine learning. I can tell you that every single function is touched by technology. I manage the residential business for Mahindra Lifespaces. I can tell you when we purchase land, when we do the land analysis, there's a lot of tech which goes into it because, we need to look at the contours, we need to look at the rigid boundaries, we need to, even look at the land titles, going all the way to 60 years and 90 years. After you purchase, obviously, I'm sure some of the young startups will talk about it. There are so many regulations in terms of UDPCR, not easy for one person to remember. There are 7 municipal corporations within MMR itself. So technology in terms of how do you decide how much FSI is available, how much to construct, and then obviously collections. We have an application, we have a website, we have an IVR system, we have a chatbot. Sometimes, the consumer feels overwhelmed. So, you need to have a right quantity for that particular customer. And all the way through sales and construction, right? We are constantly looking at what technology to employ in construction. Because as the session got started, we talked about, business, dhanda, right? Ultimately, if the slab cycle can come down from 12 days to 9 days, that's automatically translating into the into the cost save and hence the bottom line, right? So I think we are trying to contribute from our side towards technology, and hopefully the sector will move significantly faster in coming years with respect to tech adoption.
Absolutely. And I've got a lot of questions regarding the metaverse part that you mentioned as well, because a lot of things are going to happen on the digital twin phenomena in terms of the mapping or the construction updates and everything. I'm going to come to that, but Piyush, I'm going to ask you now. So, OfBusiness, for the people, everybody knows you guys, but then one of the things which is most fascinating is the kind of numbers, the GTV that you call, right, that you guys have done, which is much ahead of so many real estate developers as well, in a very short span that you guys have managed. My question to you is, I'm pretty sure all of the scaling that you are doing, there's a proper tech stack that you guys have at the back end to map, to see to it what could be the supply and demand in the overall value chain that you guys are having. How are you mobilizing this ecosystem? Since, based on our discussion, that it is not just the real estate, right? It's the infrastructure side of the narrative also where you guys are pretty heavy. So how you guys are leveraging the technology to see to it that, you are prepared from the supply and demand side, and also the stakeholders that you're operating with, guiding them through, and what are the opportunities you're seeing that, the way they are adapting for the tech for the future use cases to add to the supply? I wanted to understand this particular ecosystem from you.
So, thanks for the appreciation. And at the same time, in the same breath, I would also say, I think I come from a different world. We are not from the reality world, right? Because we focus more on the infra, going towards more manufacturing. That's how the company has progressed over the years. But there's a common DNA in the company, which is to build, use tech to drive business outcomes. So as I think what Vimalendra said, right? Website, apps. These are like obvious ones. This is not tech anymore. This is something that you need to have. It's no longer about having digital presence. This is the way the world moves and world interacts. And the world is changing again with the chat GPTs of the world, etc. The world is again moving to an OS, which is going to be very different. In my personal view, I think we are at the cusp of what iPhone brought to the world. The world changed. I think we're at the time when Sam Altman said 3 days back that the older generation is using ChatGPT to replace Google, but the younger generation is using ChatGPT to build. And that's a fact. So the world is going to change. So coming back to your specific question, as a company, we are very functional and we drive business outcomes. So what do I mean by that? So we're very tangentially different that ways. So we built our own lightweight ERP. We built our own lightweight CRM. We built our own lightweight underwriting system. So we didn't get fancied by buying something from the industry. I was talking to HubSpot country manager some time back, and I was saying, today if you were to ask me, if the decision that we took in terms of build versus buy, maybe the complexity, we kind of undermined it. But the efficiencies that it has driven for us is huge. The platform, for example, the market-facing platform that we built in form of bidassist.com and the leads that we generated easily flowed into both the underwriting system and the and the ERP, which finally got processed, and what Manish and Vimalendra mentioned, right? So ultimately, it is the bottom line, and that's what has helped drive margins. That is the reason, one of the core reasons in terms of leveraging tech to be able to drive profitability. So that kind of becomes core, and as we're shifting towards more manufacturing, it again continues to be our core. So we leverage various technology partners, but the core of the delivery is always with us. I think that's what we should keep focus as an industry, that how is that I'm driving real world outcomes. I mean, it kind of becomes a problem also, because then you say that, what is my opportunity cost? Why am I investing? Because the long-term views actually kind of get taken away. But then if somebody was to do really a good business analysis, tech would always come up. So that's
Super. So now let me go into a little bit of detailing. And Manish sir, I'm going to start with you. With Regalia and now with the whole commercial spaces with Hiranandani, I wanted to understand one thing. The customers that you're interacting with, the construction-based insights, right? Are these part of the conversations as well? Do they impact the deals that you are making, the tenure forward that you're making, and the numbers that you're trying to clock per square feet in terms of the lease business? Does it have any kind of rub off directly into the customer engagement as well? Or it is just the brand that takes care of the things because everything else comes with it? How does the rub off happens between the construction inside vis-a-vis the deals that you're closing today?
Yeah, absolutely. The construction updates and insights are very, very important for any customer who is, considering any, office transaction or location. Though, this has to fit into the timeline in which, they are looking at that move, whether it is a expansion move, whether it's a relocation move. And if the timelines are coming into, approximately 2 quarters kind of an interval, then, those details are quite relevant. But coming to, the granularity of data points that now are available through systems and what people are, able to, put into various templates and make, sensible presentations to take decisions for the stakeholders, whether it's availability of men, availability of material, looking at the entire approval cycle, looking at any external, factors. All of this, is completely templatized and, it is monitored on a sort of a day-to-day basis. Now, not all of it can be exposed either on your website or on, any other platform which, so much of information can be given. But, in the cases wherein you do an outright kind of a transaction, RERA takes a lot of details from you. So a lot of details you have to still furnish. But if you look at the commercial real estate journey from the office perspective, the decision making is very, very structured. And when they are looking at the structured information, they ask you to fill up RFPs which are very, very detailed. So, I mean, a typical RFP could run into, 300 to 500 line items. So each and every spec and each and every, part of the detail is captured. And it captures everything from legal, technical, financial, the engineering part of it. And in engineering also a deep dive into civil, mechanical, HVAC and, the entire, then the circulation of spaces and, ESG norms and all of that. So yes, there's a lot of data points that gets covered, and the more systematic you are in your approach in documenting them and being able to produce it at the right time at the right speed, it does enhance your CX, and it does show you as a very, very responsive organization, and that helps you in creating that kind of a trust factor which will enable the deals to actually happen.
Thanks a lot, sir, for these insights. And with the same one, since I asked about commercial from Manish, sir, Mr. Vimalendra, I'm going to talk about the residential point of view. And also the fact, I was very curious that as a, when you're looking at pure business, what do you go and tell your CDOs and CIOs in your organization that this is the kind of a metrics that I want to see, the single source of truth, which gives me an understanding of what's happening into construction, how it is getting linked to the delivery, how am I going to talk to my customers, and what is it that I can promise? And maybe in the whole journey, am I able to extract a premium, just the way I asked him. So what's the single source of truth? What's the metrics that you are looking at? And has your team already delivered it to you? Or you guys are still in talk? Where are we? What are you really looking at? Which makes your life very simpler to make decisions, have actionable insights, like on your palm?
No, thanks. A very relevant question. Just like commercial, right? In commercial still, and I stand corrected, Manish, you can correct me. While in the beginning, there's a lot of involvement that a customer has in terms of RFPs because obviously they are buying or they're leasing. But in terms of a residential, the emotional quotient is very high because he's obviously buying for himself, for his family. By and large, it's a big dream for anybody to home an apartment. And this is the only product category, for which a consumer takes a lifelong debt. There is no other product, where a consumer takes a 20-year or a 30-year loan. Just imagine, right? And this is a product category where you pay a lot upfront and then you typically wait for 4 years, 6 years, depending on the project, to get your home. So there is always a lot of anxiety that a consumer has. And that is, by and large, one of the reasons why the industry is getting consolidated. The listed corporate players are growing, and so on and so forth. Now, what we do, Govind, is in terms of construction updates, we very meticulously send a quarterly update to every single customer on construction. So we have got something called as an MLife app that is completely integrated with the backend. So every 3 months, the actual construction update, including photographs, is being sent to a customer. That is as far as the customer is concerned, irrespective whether he's asking, not asking, seeing, not seeing. And it is sent on the app, it is sent on the email. Right? So these are the two medium that we use. Obviously, we don't use WhatsApp for this because the files are large. That is externally. And if anybody wants to, what we also encourage our customers, and that's because we need to take an off day for that. If somebody says, hey, I want to visit the site, obviously there are a lot of safety precautions that one need to take. But what we try and do is once a quarter, one half, we say that, a 2-hour window, why don't you come? Because, it gives a sense of participation to a customer saying that, hey, I came to this site, this is where I'm going to have a home, and spend those couple of hours looking at what is happening. And they really marvel at the kind of engineering which is there in a real estate project. Many a times people think it's just brick and mortar. It's significantly more than brick and mortar, right? And I think it's an engineer's paradise as well, not just civil engineers, but even electronics and mechanical, right? So there's a lot of technology on that side. Internally, as a corporation, what do we look at? Somebody like for a residential business, what do I look at? What does my manager look at? We have very clear dashboards. And the dashboard is saying that, hey, these are my project milestones. And frankly, let me give you an inside story. We do a project review once in every 15 days at my level and the MD's level, right? Once in every 15 days for every single project. Because a construction timeline can either add a lot of value to the company or it can destroy a lot of the value to the company. Because you've anyway sold out the apartments, which is not really a problem. But the problem is actually constructions. It requires a lot of approvals, very complicated process, a lot of local dynamics, which many of you are aware of in this particular sector. So we look at, hey, what is the slab cycle? What is the kind of billing that we have done? The contractor issues, how many labors are there on the site? How can you forecast? And we actually break it, saying that, hey, it's a 5-year project, which means at the end of the 5th year, if you have to give a possession, you work the maths backwards, right? So we do have an in-house dashboard very clearly, which tells us where do we stand, and if we are behind, what is the catch-up plan? If we are ahead, great, how can we maintain that? So yes, we review that very diligently.
Superb. I'd love to have a view of the dashboard that you're talking about, because I'm really fascinated with this off late. And now, keeping that in mind, Piyush, I'm going to come to you. Whenever that I interact with the big fours in this particular space, when they're consulting to the real estate firms, they always pinpoint one part where they say, hey, we can save this much in the bottom line if your procurement is done right. You do it at the right time, right amount of material, and then we can save, let's say, 100 crore or something of that sort. That number comes in. And I'm always fascinated, asking that, is procurement such a big phenomenon? What are the variables which are leading to this kind of a time saving or the cost saving? I'm asking to you, based on your journey so far, interacting with the fraternity on the real estate side, to the all the infra projects that are happening, what's your insight? Like in the procurement, do we really have a value chain where this kind of cost saving can happen if you do it right? We do it with all the analytics and numbers at your hand. Is there a possibility a project getting delivered can have some kind of a bottom line that can increase if you do procurement right? Since you are operating this space, you see it up close, I wanted to understand this from you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was our foundation when we started. Because the predictability in terms of prices, in terms of delivery, that becomes a genesis of streamlining businesses. So, for example, exactly what Vimalendra said, right? Customers are being shown in terms of the progress of the flat. At the same time, for example, in the OfBusiness app, the customers who have actually bought material can actually track deliveries in terms of when are they reaching and where are they in the transit, even if the transit is like 4 days, 5 days, in terms of whether it has dispatched from the factory, not dispatched from the factory, in the transit, where exactly the location, da. So I think what it does is in terms of gives you a lot of confidence in terms of the transaction. And it helps people to build forward plans, which otherwise you are holding back. To say, first let me get this and then I'll start. Which in a software world will say simply a waterfall model. Let me get to this first point and then I'll go to the next one. Is the same thing in the business process workflows, right? If you make that predictable and you say that yes, this event is going to happen for sure, and this is a likely event that it will go slip by a day, even then it is fine because you can then start building for the next one, right? So things like that really help in terms of fast tracking the overall outcome. In fact, this is what we initially started with, to say we will give you 3% savings because of price predictability, because of delivery predictability, because of quality. That's what we stand for as a company, and hence whatever we are providing to our same ethos to our suppliers, and the same thing that we provide to our buyers.
Super. So since we are now having a limited time, I'm going to come to the last question for this session, and that's my favorite, and I want you guys to be really, really honest, right? Where I wanted to know, because lot many startups who are here, they're solving some problems. They're trying to figure out it's a right product market fit or not. And there are few startups who are here or going to listen to this are going to be looking at what are the problems that they can really solve. So keeping that in mind, I'm going to ask you two to begin with. Currently, into the current operations that you are seeing in your organization or into the whole fraternity, in the next 2 years timeline or 3 years timeline, what is a solution that you are looking forward to that, hey, if somebody could solve for it, I would be the first one taking it? I believe this is the premise of today's session. The startups showcasing the problem that they are solving, if the developers can actually meet them and business can be driven. So starting as the first panel today, I have this as my final question, specifically for you two to begin with, that what's the one problem that you want to solve, and you will say that if somebody is solving it, I'll be the first person to pick it up. I'll start with you, Mr. Vimalendra, this time.
Thank you. And first of all, best wishes to all the participants today. I think there's not just one problem. There are many problems in real estate that can be solved. And we are grappling with so many problems every single day. I mean, there's not a single day which is a straight line kind of a day. You can get up well, have a nice day, and then go to bed. No, it doesn't really happen in reality. Every day there is some fire burning, and every day we need to douse that fire, right? Now, frankly, just two things I'll tell you at a macro level for all the people who are going to pitch in today. One is clearly look at what adds value to the company. So, and frankly, you can provide solutions in the land purchase stage. You can provide solution in the customer experience or a CX space. You can provide certain solutions when the business cases are underwritten. And I can tell you a lot of the developers are still following those old manual business case way of writing, the traditional Excel sheets. Now, what happens in those Excel sheets if there is one linkage which goes wrong and you take a decision on that? People don't even realize till the time they're in a soup. And of course, the construction stage itself. And we ask a lot of the questions ourselves. We say, hey, if China, for right reasons, can construct a building in 2 years, why do we take 5 years, 6 years, 7 years? How can you have... And of course, this is in the government domain. How can you have a single window of approval? What kind of technology needs to be built so that all the approvals can be done through a single click? Which, if you go to Dubai, where we also have a business, I had gone there, all the approvals have single window approval in reality, where in India it is not there. Right? How do you optimize procurement? That's a big area of concern for a lot of the developers, because cost is something which is not controlled, right? So you can work on procurement side, you can work on construction side, you can work on land acquisition side, CX side, and obviously property, prop tech, what we call, Govind, is really changing the landscape, as we know. So you can frankly pick up any area and you can do a lot of value add. But always remember, it has to be a cost-benefit analysis, because for a lot of the people outside the room, outside this room, they think that, the reality business is where there is crores and crores of money as a bottom line, which frankly is a mistake. People think just because somebody is a developer, he is making tons of money, which is not a reality. The reality is, even in reality business, the margins are very tight. And I think everybody here understands that. So we need to be very prudent as far as the cost is concerned. So as long as you can add value and show that value to a real estate developer, they'll always be willing to support you in your endeavor to scale up your business. That's what I'll say.
So with that, I'll just try to validate one idea with you, because I know there are a few startups here today operating into the virtual staging digital twin space. You have already, pioneered it 5 years back. And I know the team, was talking to us. I was talking to the Tech Mahindra team. They spoke about it. I want you to know the metaverse experience that you have made. Is there a future where, or you already are onto it, where the digital twins are being translated for the leveraging around the BIM models, where tomorrow there's a future where the customers whom you're handing over the apartments, you're actually trying to give them an understanding that hey, these are how the power, supplies, and everything else is moving. That's how the plumbing had happened because of the BIM models being there. And tomorrow, when we hand over the apartments to you, at any point of time, any of the repair that you have to do, you just have to look at this and get done with it. Do you believe there's a day coming where the customers would love to have this as a value-added chain into their experience, because the developer has really thought through towards the last mile as well, where once you hand over, if I have to do anything into the apartment, I know where the wiring and everything is going because of the digital twin that you guys have catered to. Do you think that's the area that you would love to talk about as add as an edge to your selling?
No, definitely. Let me talk about metaverse, where we don't talk about technology enough in the real estate sector. Metaverse. Let me give you some inside story. First of all, when we did metaverse, of course, we spent tons of money, and with our partner who was Tech Mahindra, right? So it was very expensive at that point of time. Obviously, now the cost of developing an application like that has come down significantly. That was almost 4 years back. And so we didn't have a sample apartment, by the way, but we still did almost 750 crores of business at the time of the launch. What was the USP in that? Customer can put that set Oculus and actually experience the real feel of living on, say, the 21st floor. How does the sun move? What is the wind pattern? How are my views? Otherwise, in a sample apartment, you're not able to give that. And if we had not done a metaverse kind of a launch, we ourselves wouldn't have realized that, hey, it can be very powerful. Now, the only prohibitive thing in new technology is the cost. If collectively, and I have no doubts in my mind that as the technology improves, the cost will come down, there'll be a greater adoption. You will actually, probably in midterm, you will actually see the sales galleries go away. I mean, that is a physical activity. You need to do the maintenance and technology. You'll be there. Similarly, going to your question, and frankly, as a company, I can tell you there is a lot of application. If at the time of possession, and I would love to outsource that, saying that, if there is a guy who can come and actually have an application which we can transparently give to the customer, I said, you do the snagging. And if you tell me these 10 things are deficient, we'll be more than happy. It's better to, identify all the deficiencies is one go from a consumer lens. Unfortunately, the project guys think from a project perspective and not necessarily from a consumer lens. And that's where the gap lies, right? And we are actually looking for something like that. And there's a lot of application. Every consumer wants to get a home which is perfect. And the only way to do that is if somebody can actually tell them, hey boss, I have looked at your apartment in a very neutral way, not from a developer's eye, in a very neutral way, and these are the 10 problems. You can please tell the developer to fix it. They'll be glad to fix it. Because at the end of the day, when you hand over the apartment to a customer, you want the customer to be very happy. Because as a developer, we have also put in a lot of the efforts. I mean, nobody does it willingly. At least I can tell you about the tier 1 developers. So definitely, I think a property management app is something which is picking up. A possession snagging app is something which is really in great demand. We sell almost 5 lakh homes a year in India, only in the top 7 cities. So imagine the kind of delivery which is happening every year, and this has a huge application going.
Superb. So these are a few insights that Mr. Vimalendra has given. Now, Piyush, I'm going to come to you. Off late, I just saw Zepto launching something called Zepto Atom for their, suppliers, the people who are there on the platform, to gauge that where is the demand coming from. And they have a very beautiful interface that they have showcased into the demo that has come out. I was fascinated since I knew that I'm going to have you on the panel. Because of the scale that you're already doing, are you guys working on something of that sort, or what are the value chains you're giving it to the people who are there on your platform to make them prepare that at what rate to sell, which areas to focus so that they can maximize their business. Are you working upon these ecosystems as well?
So, like construction and infra, these are not glamorized worlds, so things don't get covered that quickly. So we actually launched last year something called as Nexuzo.ai. And Nexuzo.ai is a platform which actually gives out signals to sellers. So where their material is going to be utilized. To the extent of saying, if this is the DI pipe of this dimension, you can actually go down and find out that these are the buyers who are going to require this material, likely in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, etc. to that extent. So that's the depth of information that we're going. We're going from demand aggregation, price predictability, and then at some point in time, we will be able to correct the suppliers and buyers correctly on the platform. But these two things we are already doing. We're giving price predictability in terms of what the price, which of course daily fluctuates. For, of course, the focus categories that we do, we're giving out demand forecasting, and basis which the sellers can actually do heat maps to say which areas in India are going to require what material, what all buyers are there, etc., etc. So that's the kind of stuff that we're already on to.
Superb. There are buzzers going on already. So, Manish sir, I'm going to come to the last question, the same one from you. If in case there's the one problem that you believe that you would want to solve for, and if you have to give one insight to the startups here, what will be that question? What will be that value chain that you would suggest that these startups can solve for, which you would love to give as your business, and give the first pilot to them?
So I think only two parameters to look at. One, Vimalendra has covered. We are continuously working on cost efficiencies. So whatever tech helps us rationalize our cost and keep them in check, so that somehow the bottom lines are maintained. That's of the critical importance. And the other one is your favorite. How to increase the customer experience by intervention of technology, by intervention of any of the digital mediums. On CX, my view is that it works in a phygital way. The customer experience is basically relationship oriented, and relationships you carry forever. If it is possible for you to carry the relationships forever, then your brand becomes what a brand it should be. And people, look forward to it, and people, have a great experience of your product. And when you build that kind of a brand, you also get a lot of leeways as well. Because, if you were to, just see in the corporate, this thing, one word which is called trust, and if you were to put a brand against that, most of the people will think as Tatas. Now that's the value and that's the CX that they have been able to generate because of the brand. So I think lessons for all of us is that, whether we do through technology, whether we do through, the human intervention, both of them are important. Both of them are very, very, they can work hand in hand. And to drive the experience best, that's the only way to go forward.
Thanks a lot, sir, and thanks a lot for the panel for giving wonderful insights. Manish, sir, you spoke about efficiency, and I apologize to the RealtyNXT team. 5 minutes extra I took. That's almost 13-14% lesser efficiency for wrapping the panel in time, but the conversation was very insightful to me. I hope it was the same for the audiences as well.
Come on, guys. Let's hear a round of applause for...
Do we have time for any questions? I believe
there was somebody who asked for a question.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Ravi from Capital Land. I have a question to Vimalendra. Some great insights, good practices on the construction, reporting, customer interaction is really good. But one area, I would like to know, how have you used technology to reduce dependency on the labor and productivity and reduce the construction timelines? That would be interesting.
So since we are running up of time, I'll try and briefly answer that. I think on the construction side, as I said, there's a huge amount of scope for tech intervention. And I think let it be even today, pretty much almost every developer is dependent on the primary contractor. They actually subcontracted. There are labor issues that we face because the labor is, whether it's in situ, how do you set up the labor colony, what kind of benefits you are able to give to those guys. It's something, it's a challenge, frankly, which everybody is grappling with. And specifically in a city like Mumbai, where the sites are very tight, it's really difficult to accommodate the laborers on site. And that's actually one problem. I look forward to solutions from all of you. More than happy to have a dialogue post this session.
Yeah, we'll definitely continue. I think there's some more people raising their hands, guys. I think we can take questions, one last question, and then let's keep some for the networking session later on.
So I'm Sagar from Madhuri Engineers. Sir, I just wanted to understand from esteemed jury members, what is the future of prefab construction in India? China is delivering building projects in less than 10 days of time. How do you think we can move forward into that direction? As a construction contractors, we have executed 5.5 slabs in a month of time using My1 technology. As a construction contractor, we do not have a surplus amount to invest in research and development of prefab technology. Who do you think is going to lead that particular charge coming up into the real estate segment? Because I think the world is moving forward into prefab. Do you think India is ready for that at this stage of time? Thank you.
So, great question. Actually, when I started working in this industry, the typical, slab cycles used to be 21 days. In 21 days, we would cost a slab at Hiranandani's I'm talking about. And today, when we look at when the technology intervention and other things, we are in the range of 8 to 9 days per slab cycle. So that's the kind of transformation that has already happened. Can we cut it down to 4 days or 5 days? We have seen the examples of 4 days and 5 days as well. There are a lot of people who have already done it. We have seen the demo of one such project. Somehow we feel that, when we have to work at that speed, you have to, also look at what kind of trade-offs are you making with quality. If quality is to be, maintained, you have to also give materials to do their work. Otherwise, you keep on, putting too much of stress on, trying to become as efficient as possible and cut down the timelines. You should do it to a particular extent and not really try and ape the model which others have done. They may do it for a demo case for a 1 or 2 buildings. But if you have to develop a country like India, I don't know whether 4 days, 5 days thing for high-rise buildings is a feasible solution.
Thank you so much. I think we'll conclude this, but I'd still like to keep you on stage. I know we are delayed a little bit. But I'd like to call upon Singh to felicitate you with something that we have for this fruitful discussion that we had today. Kritika?
Thanks a lot for all the fellow panelists.
Thanks.
And thanks a lot for the audience for the wonderful question.
Come on, guys, louder. Thank you.